Hey guys, welcome back to the M&A channel. Today we're going to be talking about who I think are going to be the top 10 running backs next season in the NFL. Let's get right into it. At number 10, I have Bengals running back Joe Mixon. Mixon had a decent season last year with 1,137 rushing yards, 287 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. Some people were really disappointed because they thought he was going to be one of the elite running backs of last season. But what did you actually expect to happen on a terrible Cincinnati Bengals team? This season, they're going to have Jonah Williams returning from an injury that sidelined him all season last year. They're going to have Joe Burrow, the first overall pick, coming in to hopefully add a new dimension to the team. And I think that's going to allow Mixon to have more of an opportunity to run the ball and have more meaningful plays. I'm expecting a decent season for Mixon on par with his previous two. I'm predicting 1,180 rushing yards, 325 receiving yards, and 10 total touchdowns. At number 9, I have Raiders running back Josh Jacobs. Jacobs had 1,150 rushing yards, 166 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns in 13 games. This was an amazing rookie season for Jacob, and they'll be looking to build off of that. In my opinion, the Raiders have gotten much better, and their offense is really potent. Carr is an effective QB, and with Waller, Ruggs, and Renfro as receiving options, there should be an opening for Jacobs to take another step forward in his career. He'll have much more opportunity to run the ball this season. I'm predicting 1,310 rushing yards, 180 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. At number 8, I have Browns running back Nick Chubb. I'm a massive fan of Nick Chubb, and I think he could be a top 3 running back in the league. But there's just one problem with that. Kareem Hunt is also in the backfield, and he's going to steal touches from Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had 1,494 rushing yards, 278 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns last season, finishing second in the league in rushing. When Hunt returned though, Chubb's production decreased because of him losing touches. Since Hunt's returning to the team next season, I think we're going to see a decrease in Chubb's numbers. I think he's still going to be an absolute beast on the field, and people should still be scared of him. I'm predicting 1,300 rushing yards, 225 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns. At number 7, I have Packers running back Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones had a great season last year with 1,084 rushing yards, 474 receiving yards, and 19 touchdowns. Aaron Jones was an absolute TD monster, tied for first in the NFL. Picking A.J. Dillon in the second round brings some question marks to what the backfield will look like next season. The Packers overall should be a good team next season. This will happen with steady production from the backfield. However, with Dillon in the mix added on to regression, I think there will be a dip in production for Jones overall. I'm predicting 1,050 rushing yards, 420 receiving yards, and 14 touchdowns. At number 6, I have Saints running back Alvin Kamara. Kamara had a down season that was filled with injuries. It was especially disappointing considering that he was going to get way more touches with the departure of Mark Ingram. In total, he had 797 rushing yards, 533 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. I think that the Saints are still a powerhouse, primed to win their division. In this upcoming campaign, I see Alvin Kamara come back into his former self and have a huge resurgence. The offensive line is strong, and Drew Brees is still his highly efficient self. I'm predicting 950 rushing yards, 620 receiving yards, and 12 touchdowns. At 5, I have Vikings running back Dalvin Cook. Cook finally had a season where he was somewhat healthy for the most part. His performance this year just showed how good this man can be. 1,135 rushing yards, 519 receiving yards, and 13 touchdowns, and he still missed 2 games. I think despite Diggs being traded, this Vikings team will have a very decent season and will be vying for a playoff spot. Dalvin Cook will look to be a key part of this team for that to happen. I think Kirk Cousins will have to rely on him much more this season, and I think all of that is going to combine into Cook's numbers going up. Hopefully he stays healthy, and I'm predicting 1,250 rushing yards, 550 receiving yards, and 14 touchdowns next season. At number 4, I have Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott has been a great player ever since he got into the league. There's no question about it. Last season was basically, the same. He had 1,357 rushing yards, 420 receiving yards, and 14 touchdowns. Who knows what actually is going to happen to Dak Prescott? I personally think he'll be back. He'll sign a ridiculous deal that's not worth it. But overall, he does help Zeke. Zeke's put up great numbers with Dak, and I think that's just going to continue to be the same this year. I think the Cowboys are going to vie for a division spot by attempting to win their division, and I think Zeke's going to have to be a big part of that. I'm predicting Zeke to have 1,400 rushing yards, 510 receiving yards, and 12 touchdowns. Before we move into our top 3, I want to give out some honorable mentions who just barely missed out on this list. Now, these honorable mentions start with running back from the Arizona Cardinals, Kenyon Drake. The running back from the Seattle Seahawks, Chris Carson. And the running back from the Philadelphia Eagles, Miles Sanders. All 3 I think will have decent seasons, but they just don't do enough to crack this top 10 list. At number 3, I have Titans running back Derrick Henry. Finally the Titans made this guy the workhorse back he's supposed to be, and it paid off huge dividends. They made it all the way to the AFC Championship on this man's back. He had 1,540 rushing yards, 206 receiving yards, and 18 touchdowns. He's on a franchise tag coming back to the Titans, and for his sake, I really hope he doesn't get injured. I think he might hold back a little because of his future contract needs, but at the end of the day, he's a competitor. So when his team needs him, he's going to show up. So that's why I'm predicting another great season, and I expect the Titans to make a playoff push with this man in the backfield. I'm predicting 1,590 rushing yards, 310 receiving yards, and 20 touchdowns. Number 2, I have Giants running back Saquon Barkley. Last season was a little bit of a sophomore slump for Saquon, but what do you really expect from a guy who had a hamstring injury and came back from it in a matter of weeks? You saw what he's going to be towards the end of the season, where he was just dominant. Daniel Jones has turned out to be a very decent quarterback. Andrew Thomas was picked at 4th overall to help shore up that offensive line. This puts the team in a better situation, and it also puts Saquon in a much better situation. I think we're going to see improvements all around in this team next season, and Barkley's just going to step up, and his numbers will too. I'm predicting 1,490 rushing yards, 615 receiving yards, and 17 touchdowns. At number 1, who else is it going to be but the one and only Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey. This man is the Panthers offense. He killed it last season with 1,387 rushing yards, 1,005 receiving yards, and 19 touchdowns. I don't know how great this Panthers team is going to be next season. For the most part, I think it's still going to be McCaffrey carrying them. Teddy Bridgewater will probably have some dinks and dunks to McCaffrey, which is probably going to inflate McCaffrey's numbers a little bit more. But he's just a great running back. What else do you expect him to do with the offense that they have there? I see McCaffrey being the guy for this team in a very difficult NFC South division. Will he be able to make anything of the Panthers by himself? I don't know. I don't really think so. But he's going to have a great season. I'm predicting 1,410 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards again, and 21 touchdowns. That wraps up this video and my top 10 running backs for next season. What do you guys think? Anyone you want moved up or down? Put your top 10 in the comments below. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and feel free to subscribe. Remember to also watch that top 10 of wide receivers video and the M&A series, which me and my friend just made a video on, going over the top NHL teams of the last decade. That's all from me, and I'll catch you in the next one.